All right, welcome everybody. So yeah, normal agenda for the weekly kind of wrap up general meeting here is going through the products and with any updates from them, and then going through the biz dev development and governance calls that happened this week and recapping what happened in those. And then if we have time, additional discussion. Corcus, do you want to talk about Omen to start us off?
Yes, I was away for 2 weeks, but I'm getting back into the Omen game. We have a big pull request list of new stuff, which Caden worked on. And the version 1.1.5, which is being prepared right now, will be primarily be front-end polishment updates, so no major features will be included, and a proper My Market widget which works. So if rated, provide liquidity and has outcome tokens. And with all of that, I think the next version is like a major big release, which puts Omen into like an acceptable feature-rich version, which is not an alpha anymore, hopefully. And speaking about the curation, I mean, Claros is working pretty well with their curation list. People are using it. Nevertheless, I think we should be a backup list. Just like, I think it's important that the DXdao still has like a way to fix Omen if something with the Claros list doesn't work out. So it would be good if someone from the Omen community could start thinking about like a big list of valid markets. I mean, we could basically copy the Claros state right now and then like maintain any new market which is coming out and just including it into our list. So yeah, that's basically it for the Omen release. Any questions?
Does the management of the Omen list work if the DAO, like main DAO Alchemy, is managing it, like, or do you need the smaller Omen guild in order to like do that management quicker and faster, like more effectively?
In the beginning, it will be the main DAO, which will do the creation. If we have a Omen on-chain community in place, I think there's no reason why we shouldn't transfer the ownership or create a new list for them, which they can then maintain for the Omen community. But like in the next 2 weeks, the DXdao will have the job to curate its own list. I mean, we can basically not do anything, but I think it's just a backup plan. It's just like more robust to have two major lists which are being maintained.
So do those lists go through like the vote, like normal proposal process every time you're changing those lists?
Yeah, like one good thing is that we can make batch add-ons. So like every 3 days or whatever, every 3 days we can have like a list of markets which should be considered valid. So that's like the only feature we have against the Claros thing. I don't think with Claros you can have like a batch add-on to the list. So yeah, the way I see it, based on the gas prices, it kind of makes sense to have like every 3 days we collect all valid markets and include them. It's actually interesting that like before I actually thought the DXdao is actually a good competitor to the Claros list, but the good thing with the Claros list is that if someone is adding something to the list, it is being considered valid. like immediately, and people can basically earn rewards if they see something invalid, and then basically like signal directly on chain that it is an invalid market, and the process it got being triggered on the Claros system to firstly remove it or something like that. So it's much faster, which is a good thing for our product, because people can actually like add it to the list pretty quickly compared to the DXdao list.
All right, if we're set on questions on Omen, I can give it a little update on Mesa. There is another release upcoming, which has a few relatively small kind of user experience improvements, like an improved way to define the validity of the orders with like the date picker and batch ID selector, and then a new way of like showing the actual minimal trading amount, which I think has been creating some confusion, because there is like a certain threshold in which batch orders actually get filled. So there's sort of like this effectively, I think it's maybe even a little bit high minimal trading amount with Gnosis protocol with the high gas fees. Also, I synced up a bit with the Gnosis engineering team, and there's a few big kind of efforts that they're working on for Gnosis protocol itself. I think the next goal for them is to add the market order functionality at the Gnosis protocol level. I think if you look longer term after that, it's scalability. Sky, I think we were talking about at one of the calls earlier this week about how there's 30 trades in a single batch right now. I think Aluna, I haven't looked at the full message, but I believe Alvin from Aluna Social was actually just asking about that in the Keybase. So yeah, right now 30 trades in a single batch of Gnosis protocol. And Sky, something else we had brought up earlier this week was that the fact that people can put in an order with the best price, but if it's not, it can actually get like left out of a batch if there's bigger orders. And the reason I looked more closely at this, the reason for this is that the goal with the solver rules is to maximize trader welfare, right? So essentially, bigger orders can create more utility than smaller orders, even if the smaller order has a more competitive price, just because that's the price difference from the settled price times the volume. So
yeah, you could argue that a tiny little guy who gets done is happier than a big guy at a worse price that gets done.
Right. There's a mathematical definition for a trader utility here, right?
Yeah. But because I also thought the whole point of Gnosis protocol was to trade really illiquid, small volume tokens on let's say from Omen, and if that is what it's designed for, low liquidity, low volume, random tokens always can get a price because of ring trades. But they're actually left out. That doesn't actually do what it's supposed to do, right?
Right, and there's two aspects to that too, right? So there's the 30 trades in a single batch, kind of limiting that. I do think that scalability is going to be more of a focus after they add market orders. So hopefully that would be addressed, and there would be a lot more trades in a single batch. But I don't know how you get around gas costs. I'm sure there's some optimizations, but yeah, what you're talking about, which I think is true, is part of the goal here is to allow trading of relatively illiquid tokens at a reasonable price. If you're an Omen market and there's a few $1,000s of liquidity, the gas prices alone are pretty prohibitive, right? So I think that means that for that to work, you need a better scalability functions, and I don't actually really know what the answer is there, if it's OVM or something like that.
Yeah, because if since you deposit onto you deposit like you would deposit onto Loopring, you deposit on Gnosis Protocol. It seems like you could put Gnosis Protocol on Loopring on layer
Right,
2.
right. No, yeah, I don't technically Gnosis Protocol is I don't think layer 2 because everything like the deposits are all on layer 1. It's just the solvers are being incentivized off chain. However, like from a UX perspective, I think you're totally right? Like you're already taking this deposit step, so it's sort of like the same UX as like a loop ring or like, you know, a ZK rollup layer 2. And yeah, in addition to that, like Gnosis Protocol is not like, it doesn't work with composability in the same sense that like a Uniswap would, right? Like, so it's also similar to loop ring in that sense that it sort of breaks composability because of the time that it takes between batches, right? You can't do things atomically in one Ethereum transaction on Gnosis Protocol.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. So just the two problems are basically the same problem. So the limit of 30 orders is because a single order like would require such and such gas to settle. So yeah, it's basically the same problem of having a limited amount of orders. It's also implies some kind of high price for each order to settle. And yeah, so it's basically the same scalability, and you're definitely right that in terms of UX, it would be very reasonable to go to a layer 2 because anyway we don't gain a lot of you know the composability of being on Ethereum main chain. And yeah, it's something that is or will be explored further in the future, but already being explored. And I don't think there's the heavy lifting of doing it like in a ZK rollup is big because all the contracts would need to be like basically written from scratch, but maybe on a kind of a layer 2 EVM or I don't know.
Yeah, and on the topic of scale or addressing gas costs, I guess like there is some talk, at least that I've heard, of Gnosis potentially deploying their protocols to the DXdao chain, and then maybe Handler, Corcus, you may want to add some additional color here if you have it, but yeah, it seems like it's an idea, and like part of it too is like if they're iterating on Gnosis protocol, it's expensive just to deploy contracts to the main chain. So like DXdao is sort of an attractive option for cheaper deployments, but still real value at stake. So it's not like, you know, a completely valueless test environment. Like there's real money that you can play with. So it'll be interesting. I don't really know where that's going to go, but it's, I think, in my mind, something interesting to keep an eye on, just like the maturity of the DXdao chain and what gets deployed there.
John and Chen, just a quick word on the loopring stuff. 2 weeks ago, I guess, we spoke with, well, I mean, on the call, Oren was mentioning the ability to just trade the tokens cheaply. Maybe it's time that maybe we should just have a call offline. Chen or John, maybe you want to set it up with the Gnosis guys, or I'll reach out to Stefan or whatever. But yeah, maybe we could discuss this. I do agree with Chen. We can't port it all over easily to zero knowledge circuits. They have to be rewritten, but maybe there's some things we could do, at least for the trading, or maybe some components, because and maybe the timing is okay because we're about to deploy a new version, version 3.6, which actually is more composable with layer 1 and kind of not like pure methods, but in certain ways of abstracting logic. So yeah, let's actually have that conversation when you guys want to.
Very cool. Now, Matt, is that as pertains to Omen or Gnosis protocol or both?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I'm sorry. I believe the conversation you're referring to from a previous call was about potentially having Omen trading, like Omen
Right.
55's trading on a layer 2, like Loopring. But would that also be? Is that what you were thinking of, or were you also thinking of Mesa, like in Gnosis protocol?
Yeah, I guess a bit of both. I'm thinking of both. Like, I guess just having the conversation about what could be done. Either the naive way is just wrapping the tokens, or maybe putting Gnosis protocol in some way. I mean, it's kind of funny because last year, around exactly a year ago, I guess, we were speaking with Gnosis when they were doing, and I think it was, I might be mistaken, but they were going to deploy Gnosis protocol on a layer 2. And we were kind of discussing the similarities because remember, Loopring came from a ring trading background, and we dropped that to go ZK rollups because it was too complex to do.
You guys went in opposite directions, right? Because I believe I heard like 2 years ago at DAppCon, I vaguely remember, you know, Alex Herman talking about like the ZK stuff and using that for. I think they were calling it Plasma Exchange at the time, but what became Gnosis protocol?
Exactly. We kind of went in opposite directions, and there might not be a way to meet in the middle yet. For sure there will be, but right now for ZK stuff, it might be too restrictive. But anyways, I guess I'm going to just ping our engineers and get them ready for a phone call with I guess on both of those topics to answer your question. You're right, different things, but I'm thinking of both of them.
Cool. Happy to arrange this. Regarding DXdao, so yeah, it's very probable it's going to happen, but again, it's kind of a trade-off. So there's there's no it's not replacing the security guarantees on the main chain. It will be kind of a better testnet as I see it. But
yeah, I think at a high level, it's great that DXdao has these tight relationships with Loopring, Gnosis. People are kind of paying attention to XDAO. Like these are all potential layer 2 or scalability related projects. So
yeah, just to touch briefly on that, John, because I think that this is kind of how to solve the current crisis or thinking about gas costs right now and how to increase usage. But there is definitely a much more like medium to long-term strategic decision that DXdao should make regards to layer 2 solutions. Obviously, this is something regards to governance and voting, but the fact that DXdao has connections with a couple different layer 2 solutions, I think we should just kind of think about how that works, especially because obviously there's XDAO, Loopring, and then I presume Optimism is going to kind of be into this. When I think about DX Swap, I'm presuming that that's kind of going to be maybe if that hits a layer 2. Uniswap is working on like another layer 2 solution that they're probably going to go the Optimism route. So just these are, I think, something that DXdao should be cognizant of, and of like how to move to layer 2 in a strategic way.
It's a huge strategic question, I think, for anybody in blockchain, right? Like, how does scalability evolve? I just want to point out that I'm wearing my Level K shirt. If anybody was participating in the prediction market on Omen about whether I'd wear my Level K shirt today, I did not participate. I'm trying to stay neutral, but I did wear my shirt. So, Augusto, do you want to go to DX Swap?
Yeah. So there was a market about you wearing a T-shirt.
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. When there is going to be one about my beard, but yeah, talking about DXdao.
Will Augusto shave his beard?
Yeah. I think you know the answer. About DXswap, it is deployed on Koban. They are ready to be tested. I guess people in the community or in the DXdao community were using it. Maybe I should reshare it again, or at least comment on the topic, just to put it on the forum. And yeah, really, there we are kind of blocked about the deployment on Koban, where I'm working with Nico, and we are planning to deploy the DXdao on Koban that is going to be interacting using the DXswap scheme with DXswap on Koban. And once we test the whole process of the addition, removing of liquidity, and do a full test of our contracts on a testing environment, we are going to deploy it on mainnet. And I guess I'm going to be talking with Chris and Ingamar about organizing a mainnet release and how that will happen. More is going to be discussed tomorrow in the DXswap call.
And while we're on the topic, Chris, do you want to just kind of recap the DXswap call?
Yeah. So that was last Friday. So because we'll have this on Friday, so maybe is a little behind. But yeah, so just kind of as Guza said, did Koban kind of DXswap, looking at the demo there, talked a lot about fees. And kind of what the strategy is there, leaning towards charging a small fee, but also giving some flexibility for pools to be able to change their fees, and then also kind of how they appear. And then a lot of discussion on kind of targeted pools specifically. I'd shared a spreadsheet of like the top 50 pairs on Uniswap and looking at which pairs get the most trade volume compared to their liquidity size, and seeing if there's some pairs to kind of go after. And yeah, kind of the conclusion being that we could go after, say, smaller pairs and pretty easily establish the premier liquidity location for some of those pairs that DXdao would have some ability to attract a large liquidity pool, be that DXD ETH pools itself, or DMG, or even like a partner like PNK. So I think as we kind of, as Augusto mentioned, kind of looking to roll out to mainnet, like what are the small steps to get there, and kind of as we iterate the launch to add some targeted pairs, maybe some rewards for those before kind of competing on every pair and trying to target the resources to a select few.
Cool. Anything else to cover on DXswap before moving on? So yeah, like I think last couple product updates, Rails, I have not looked in detail, but it looks like Federico is making some good progress there and getting some help from some new designers that have been participating, which is great to see, and it's looking pretty nice. I think that should be getting launched within weeks, if not sooner. Matt, I don't know if you had anything to add onto that.
No, I was looking for an update as well. I took the past few days off, so I circled back with Federico just earlier before the call, but yeah, I was a bit behind. So that's great. So there's new designers working on it, you say? I have not seen that at all.
Yeah, I think if you join, it's probably a little confusing. There's a design channel, and they've been throwing some stuff around in there for Rails.
Cool logo too, I think.
Yeah,
new logo. Oh, wow.
You can't take any time off, Matt. That's basically the rule of crypto. You come back confused.
It's true. Honestly, a few days, the first time in 2.5 years, and I feel really weird. I just feel completely. Okay, thank you. I'll
I feel
join
like
that.
just waking up in the morning. Sometimes I feel disoriented, like so much has happened in the time I was asleep.
I know.
But yeah. But let's see. So the other aspect is governance stuff, and I mean, I don't think there's anything big to update there, but there is Augusto. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about gas reimbursement post and work done there, and also or Nico too, if you want to jump in. You're muted, Augusto.
I shared yesterday a talk on DAO Talk. I can share the link now about the first round of gas refunds that we are going to do for governance actions, right? So here you can see the topic. We made the calculations to refund 75% of the gas cost of voting, proportional creation, and staking on DXdao till a block that was that had a round number on, I think it was August 8th. So all the information is there, and the smart contract that is going to be deployed to do the refunds. The plan is to send, I think it's like 15 Ether there, and this is going to be claimed by the accounts who did their governance actions. They are going to have 3 months to claim the funds. Then the unclaimed funds are going to go back to the DXdao. So this is the first initial round with very safe and simple parameters and a very simple way of doing it. Then we are going to iterate over it and see how are we going to do the next ones. Hopefully in the future we are not going to have to do this at all, and they are going to be refunded on chain every time you vote or create a proposal. But yeah, you can go there, see the topic, and a proposal is going to be created this week for this.
Yeah, so the motivation for this technical work being that, especially recently, gas costs are so high that we are afraid it might be, or it is discouraging voting and proposal making, and that's pretty critical to DXdao to make sure governance is operating well. So yeah, so sort of a short-term, hopefully short-term fix is to use the treasury. It's not a ton of ETH, right? You're saying like it's like 10, 15 so far. And that might be more though if people do participate more and gas costs remain high. But the idea is to basically leverage the treasury to enable governance in the short term until there are better fixes in place and maybe some more scalable governance solutions in place.
Is there a way, guys, to abstract the voting to just signaling right now? Again, kind of like a hacky way. The person that owns this Ether address sends it to here for yes, here for no on Loopring, let's say, and then the ultimate, like, it is set in motion via a different trigger. Because like right now you need those on-chain votes. It's self-effectuating, I guess. But is there a way to like stop that, signal elsewhere for free? We get the voters onto a layer 2, and then you manually enforce that vote on layer 1, or no? That's like a bit of a mess.
So Augusto has had an idea which I think is similar to what you're talking about, which would be, and Augusto, feel free to explain it yourself, but the idea would be to use Kovan to collect signatures. You know, if we are able to deploy an up-to-date clone of DXdao to Kovan, votes and signatures can be collected on Kovan and submitted in one transaction on mainnet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically that the account that you use on mainnet is the same account that you use on Kovan. The idea is to share signatures on Kovan that can be executed on mainnet. The problem with signatures, as you know, is to share it on a public network, right? So there is for that is what we are going to use Koban. We are going to use Koban as a testing developer ground where you can also share a signal. Okay, this is what I will vote if I was voting on mainnet. And you are committing yourself because this signature that you share on Koban, it is executable on the mainnet voting machine because the account and the cryptographic algorithm is the same.
To be the classic Urbit shill, we're
He's
in the
back!
process. I'm back,
We had
guys.
2 weeks of peace.
Urbit is fixing that, and I think there are like 4 or 5 guys who committed to the free Telon hosting. And the beauty of Urbit is that once they have this hosting feature ready, people go to a domain, log into their Urbit.
Uh-oh.
Shit. The fact that the Urbit identity is connected.
Bye, Corcus. Sorry. This has
What could it even be?
This has happened to. Yeah, this has happened.
Was that
before.
your bit too?
Clearly, he was using his Urbit. Yeah. No, that had nothing to do with Urbit. So yeah, Urbit is also a potential solution for, especially for signaling voting. There's a group of people that are trialing it within the DXdao, working closely with the Urbit team. It's exciting stuff. We got to see, I think, what the maturity is of that tech and whether it's ready to come.
Connected.
Oh no.
Connected.
Sorry, Corcus. I had to. Yeah. Jitsi with the technical issues.
It's an interesting technical issue. It's much better than someone just freezing, though. At least
the best is this is recorded for all eternity.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think it's, we were kind of using some of this terminology yesterday and talking about like, how ETH 2.0 and ETH 1.x are like delineating between different upgrades and governance. And almost for this one, there's almost maybe like 3. I think the first one is what we're talking about to start this, which is like gas reimbursement. And that's like, how do we kind of make sure that people are voting now? Second is like the Kovan, right? Kovan DAO, which would be a way for signal. And then I guess I wonder if like the third long-term solution for this is either Urbit or layer 2 or something, but just kind of like putting the upgrades into those like progressive boxes or as like boxes that we can work on as they progress.
Yeah, on that also, oh come on, oh my god. Yeah, on that there are some things that can be, for example, for our common solution, we have tests, we have implementation, we have the implementation already designed with the code written, with test working. So this is something that can be achieved and can be implemented in the short term. And it's not a bad scalable solution. It's like by using the resources that we have at our hand to scale in our current network. Then using something something more experimental like Arbit, for example. Or we also need to. I would love to wait to see what happened with Ethereum 2.0. We'll see later how are we going to scale there. How much are we going to stake as an organization? So yeah, now we have solution. Yeah, now we have solutions that can be implemented, that are going to be implemented. It's just a matter of time.
Cool. Let's move on. Ingemar, are you ready? You're there for recapping the BizDev call from earlier?
Yeah, sure. So Delphi presented their report from DXdao. We more or less welcomed them into our community. Very excited to have them on board. They've got a lot of great ideas for the DXdAO's product offerings and the governance system, including involving DXD holders having voting power, which I think were pretty much about. They presented this idea of like a Costco-like membership for these products, so that instead of just taking fees from each one of them, we have this like membership thing, which it's cool to talk about and develop further. You know, we are trying to like decentralize and make these things permissionless and stuff. So there could be something there regarding that. Followed up with Plotus. They now rebranded to plotx.io. So I met with their executive team, and they are certainly down to explore this conversation of governing their, you know, their platform as a service. You know, whether it be taking a percentage of their governance power / tokens to govern their system and have some kind of like plurality within that, and also becoming an arbitrator. So I'm introducing them to Corcus and Caden, so that we can, I guess we can share how we integrate governance into products like Omen, and so that they can potentially model off that, and we'll figure out further what they need so we can build it and partner on that. And also, I drafted the presentation for DAO Rush Week. I'll look for the link, but I made an event on September 1st, I believe noon, New York time, for us to present on the DXdao, what we're up to, what the story is, and share a bit about the upcoming launch of DXSwap, why we're doing it, and what the goal is and what the strategy is to capture liquidity. And also, you know, end it on, hey, we're hiring. We need a lot more heads in this group. So I posted the draft in the DXSwap channel. Just take note that it's before the designers make it all beautiful. So, you know, commentary, just make it on the text and the content, and I'll revise accordingly. You know, we got a few days before DAO Rush Week starts. I submitted the intro slide for DXdao, and that's about it for me, I think.
Thanks, Ingemar. And yes, it was cool to welcome Delphi into the community, and great to see their ideas being introduced. Augusto, do you want to recap Dev Call? Again, a lot of this has sort of been covered already with the product updates, but just in case there's anything we missed.
Yeah, I think we covered all of it, because we talk about cash refunds, Omen and Mesa, and a bit of DXswap. So yeah, it was already covered. Nothing new.
All right, Chris, governance call. We've managed to go 42 minutes without talking about the bonding curve, so I think that's about to change.
Yeah. So let me just had the page up. Sorry. So governance call was jam packed actually. So started out talking about the the manifesto, and I think we're at pretty close to final draft there. I actually incorporated some comments that were yesterday into PDF that you can see there, and talking about uploading that to IPFS and then submitting that as a formal proposal. There's still a forum thread about that if you have any other comments, or on the Google Doc. And then talked briefly about revisiting kind of the worker compensation guidelines. It kind of gets to some of the things John was talking about earlier about kind of growing and expanding into new areas, and how to kind of onboard different people. And so just going through those. And so this was discussing things about like how to maybe incentivize more worker compensation in DXD, how to deal with pseudo-anonymity and experiencing level for non-technical work, and then yeah, just kind of looking at how the general calculation of that. And then we talked, as Gusto mentioned, about the reimbursing gas fees for voting and proposal submission. And DMM, there's work on kind of integrating it with on the technical level. Sky is kind of leading what we call the DXdao delegation to the DMM community, but there's still a lot of work, I think, to be done on the DMM front as they kind of build out their own governance system, but we'll be kind of a part of there for the ride. Also presented another version of the budget, which just kind of built on some of the previous versions, still kind of rough estimates, but looking at what potentially could be done as the Treasury grows more. And so the two things there are, one, sketched out what cost would be maybe over the next 6 to 12 months as the kind of positions or jobs that DXdao looks to kind of bring on, including those costs. And then second, some ideas on what exactly to do with the Treasury over the next kind of month or two, maybe to diversify it and put it into DXdao products and elsewhere, and what those numbers would look like. So you can check out the thread for more of that. And then, yeah, just the two plugs kind of at the end. We had a good DXD voting rights discussion. And there's a great John has a good post on this. And then, yeah, talked a lot about the bonding curve. Really interesting conversation. Thibault came on, who is the CEO of Fairmint, so it kind of could give us a lot of context and some of the technical details. To be honest, I was writing notes for the governance call, and I couldn't really write any notes for the discussion because it was kind of so much more than anything I could summarize. So, I mean, the thread kind of has a very good back and forth, but clearly this is something that I think the community is trying to reach consensus on, right? And so consensus seeking is kind of about arguing, discussing, letting these things kind of come out to the forefront. And so it was a really, I think, good discussion on that front. I think there is at least an understanding that there is a big technical lift to any potential change to the curve, and that is, even if Fairmint considered kind of working on it, that's a couple months away, given that kind of that there would probably need to be new smart contracts deployed. Yeah, the thread kind of goes into more detail, but it seems like there's still a lot that there's not really kind of certainty or consensus on doing something right now with the curve. It's kind of, we need to explore how this affects other things long term, how this affects DXD voting rights. So to me, this is kind of part of a larger discussion about DXD's role in DXdao, and I think there's kind of some development and relationship building, and maybe some moves that DXdao and rep holders could make to foster that relationship in the short term, and then kind of think of the long-term solutions that may require a lot more work and implementation.
I also liked what you were saying, Chris, about thinking of it almost as like governance, like as an analogy to Ethereum, like a governance 1.x, and then like maybe eventually like a governance 2.0 that maybe addresses deeper issues in a more fundamental way. Cool, yeah, and I think with the increase in Treasury and the diverse set of products, finding new developers and new business development and community folks is a top priority. And yeah, hopefully there's a few avenues which we can kind of start to open up to make sure people can hear about DXdao and kind of maybe get some kind of a pipeline going on new workers. So there's a DAO Rush Week that Ingemar mentioned, the DeepDAO banner ad. So DeepDAO is a site that it's almost like a DeFi Pulse, but for DAOs, sort of, or CoinMarketCap for DAOs. the proposal passed, which basically purchased some banner ads for DXdao within DXdao. There's some talk about what that should be, whether it's products or jobs, but I think that's going to be an opportunity to spread the word a bit. And I think we should all be thinking about helping people on board and spreading the word and getting the community to be more active and more robust.
Yeah, and I think that everyone knows that people tend to join communities because someone tells them to, right? Someone kind of brings them in, and that's, I'm assuming, how everyone here kind of is being involved. So it's always good to just kind of be sending information and updates, I think, about DXdao to different people, and who knows when they kind of will get involved with the community as they grow. But it's not something where you just kind of like find someone and then instantly kind of inject them into the community. It really is kind of individual community members like bringing people that they think would be value added and good contributors to DXdao along. And so I'm really excited for DAO Rush Week as just an opportunity to kind of plant the seed in a lot of different people, as hopefully that will germinate over the coming weeks and months.
Absolutely. Okay, so I guess we're pretty much wrapped up. If there's anything else that people would like to kind of discuss in the last 10 minutes.
Could someone explain the Ethereum and the Omen kind of gas reimbursement? Because I know we're talking about that with kind of voting, but I think that's something to kind of think about for some of the other DXdao products. I think it's just a really potentially exciting thing.
Yeah. So this started because we've seen user usage of Omen drop significantly as gas prices have gone up. So we're not sure that's the reason, but we think that's one of the reasons. So one of the simple things you can do, which Polymarket had tried too, is what if we could tell everyone, come use Omen, trade as much as you want, don't worry about the gas, and DXdao is going to pay the gas for you. That would create volume, that would create marketing, that would create a lot of things and more usage, hopefully. So one way to do it is when people trade, we keep over the course of a month, keep a track of a list of every wallet that's traded, and then run the script that Nico and Augusto are using for reimbursement, and do it on a manual basis once a month. The other thing that you can do in the Ethereum world, which became popular for quite a while, is sponsoring gas. So Argent did it, Ethereum did it. They did it. A lot of them have stopped doing it because it's gotten expensive, but they don't really have products. They just have wallets, right? So they were just paying for everyone's gas. So Ethereum has a way to do gasless, or to sponsor gas transactions for users. But when you do that, so if you think about the user experience, you come to Omen, you have to connect your wallet. You either currently connect through Wallet Connect or through MetaMask. Those are the two options. So Ethereum has a way for when you could, through Ethereum, connect using your Wallet Connect, but you have to basically kind of go through Ethereum. It's not just direct to Wallet Connect and then have Ethereum watch it. You're connecting through Wallet Connect on Ethereum. So you can still log in with your Wallet Connect. This wouldn't work if you want to log in with MetaMask, I don't think, though, but just Wallet Connect. And then anyone that does a transaction on Omen, we have a pot of money that the DXdao has put into a gas tank, basically, and then that pays for all users' gas fees, assuming they go through the Wallet Connect Ethereum method. And it works, and there are ways to spam it, right? So someone could spam the thing to and then drain the gas tank. But Ethereum did this for 6 months, and they've come up with lots of anti-spam solutions in order to not just waste money out of the gas tank. And they seem to be confident that it worked. So we would be protected by all of those measures, plus whatever limits we want to put in place, per wallet or per user or per market. So it would take some dev implementation, I think, but that's one way to do sponsored gas transactions for Omen, which I think we should do. The other option is to do it the manual way, and the manual way is probably easier and faster, but then there's a manual process every month. So that's kind of the summary.
Yeah, and the user doesn't get that quick, or the quick feedback. They're still paying the gas.
Yeah, it's not immediately free. But if the DXdao does it, like we could do things like pay half back in ETH, half in DXD, or some percentage, or I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could play with it, but I think we just need to do something. Like no one traded on. Not many people traded on John's Level K T-shirt market because it costs $15 to do the trade. Imagine if it was free to do the trade, you put a little money on John wearing a Level K T-shirt, right?
Right, because everyone knows that was an easy bet. Yeah, I mean, I think this is supporting DXdao products, I think, is like so important right now. I think Omen is an awesome product, and it's kind of carving something out now. So I think figuring out how to support that, I think, is a great idea, even if it's just kind of increasing visibility and some users, just a few users.
About what Van Morter asked on the chat, if it can be done on the same transaction on the on-chain level, the way the DXD voting machine that we are going to use on Koban that refunds the gas part of the gas cost in the transaction on-chain level, that is something that it has been tested and something that we will use. But for that, you need to change the smart contracts. So once we have that tested on-chain on our governance systems, I guess it can be implemented on Omen and on other products, where basically it functions the same. You send Ether that is going to be used to refund a percentage of the gas cost. If it has Ether, it will refund. If it doesn't, it won't. And you can configure the percentage of Ether that you want to be refunded.
Gas costs. Anything else that people would like to bring forth before we close?
Oh yeah, Augusta, is there still? We talk a lot about COVID. Is there still like a voting or signaling tool that we're going to use COVID for on a regular basis, or is that just for testing? Because
that's the goal.
Because
yeah,
I have a big concern that I would argue that 80% of people that hold rep hold it in a Gnosis smart contract wallet or a Gnosis multi-sig. Would you guys kind of agree with that?
That was the recommended wallet.
So you can't use that wallet on COVID.
I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe I think the wallet has a mechanism where you don't have to relay transactions. You can just send them. So in case that happens, we need to explore that.
But multi-sigs in general are single chain things because they don't exist on the other chain, therefore they can't do anything on another chain. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, you can't sign your transaction.
We can't do anything, right?
Well, actually, you can't sign, but you can vote for it on Common. I mean, you can use it for signaling, but yeah, you wouldn't be able to sign.
But your rep is not on Coben. So how do you vote with your rep on Coben?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that's something that we should figure out.
Because
Yep,
this has come up also with lots of projects are looking at like XDAI, for example, and there are people that need to use multisigs, and the answer right now is like that people are like transferring tokens between two different multisigs on two different chains, and you can do that, but you have to send it. But you obviously can't send rep, so it doesn't work with rep. It might work with an ERC20 token, but not with rep, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a way to
something that
redeploy? Like you'd have to redeploy all of the multi-sig contracts to the second chain?
All the multi-sigs or all the, like a mirror of the rep?
Well, that I think that we were already discussing, like cloning the DAO's like rep state in Koban. But I think what you're talking about is a important problem, which is, well, even if you get the DAO onto Koban, can the individual members actually work on Koban?
Yeah. Well, first of all, they're not going to mirror. They're not going to stay equal to each other on two different networks. And then just like as a snapshot, and then like every owner would have to have a different wallet on Koban, I think.
Yeah, something that can be done. We have it will be split the reputation. I mean, if you have 9,000 rep holding in a Genosis wallet where they have 3 owners, split the reputation among those 3 accounts, and have it on Koban where you can sign with those 3 accounts. You got it? I mean, we know. I mean, if we can know if the interface on mainnet is a Genosis wallet. If it is, we take the owners, which is the accounts that can be used on Koban, and forward the reputation there. Where if you I give the reputation there, yeah, where they can sign off behalf of that address.
Yeah.
We will need to find a
workaround.
Then
it becomes a UX problem, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a UX problem here, just in terms of, okay, if you have the DAO deployed for signaling on Koban, what's the easiest way for users to get to that and then kind of see what's going on across both chains?
Mm-hmm.
No easy answer.
That's something.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah, not for now. First, the important thing is that this is not an issue of the current system implementation. This will affect how the reputation will be distributed on Koban to match the one that we have on mainnet. So we will need to find a way to allow those wallets on mainnet sign on Koban. At least most of them. Where if it is a Genosis wallet, you take the owner of the wallet of the owners and you move the reputation to them. Something like that. So yeah, thanks for pointing out, Sky.
We
will work on it.
One more complication is, John, like you said, a lot of people use like the smart contract Gnosis wallet, which is, I don't even know if that has the two, like a normal multi-sig has like 3 normal addresses, then 2 of 3 normal addresses. The smart contract wallet that a lot of people use, I don't actually know if people have access to the 2 wallets, the 2 addresses that make up that smart contract wallet. I don't know. It's confusing.
Yeah, so it's a little confusing because the history is that Gnosis had a Gnosis Safe, like, mobile app wallet, and as well as the Gnosis Safe multi-sig. They're sunsetting that mobile app wallet. That one, I think, was actually the one that got most used during the staking period, because that's what they were recommending to use. And at the time, the the safe wasn't on mobile, or the multi-sig wasn't on mobile. They basically merged all of this into like the safe multi-sig, which now has a browser, and they're also working on a mobile version of it. The good news is it all uses the same underlying smart contracts, and you can migrate your mobile wallet, like legacy mobile wallet, to the new version of the safe multi-sig. They haven't officially released like the new mobile version though, so it's basically just something that we need to keep an eye on and make sure is supported for DXdao governance. But I don't think there's any problem where people are just going to be stuck on some like legacy version that can't be updated. There's actually a couple articles, I don't have them handy, but Gnosis has a couple articles about this. All right, so yeah, getting a little bit into the technical weeds there, but I think since we're a little over, we could wrap up here. And unless there's any objections, and everybody have a good day.
Cool. Have a good day. Yes.